Like Machine Malay here, doing the second part of my aluminum recording custom snare drum review. This one particularly is the 14 by 6.5. I've had it with me now for about a month, and that's kind of the justification I had for not doing a review sooner. I have no problem sharing my views with anyone and letting you guys know how fabulous the drum can be, but I just personally wanted to spend my time with it before I gave a review. And after a month, I can tell you that I'm super happy, super impressed. There's a few things that I think every drummer is going to have on their mind when it comes into, you know, the new versus old. I have the 14 by 7 recording custom brass, and I now have this 14 by 6.5 aluminum. One thing that I really noticed right out of the gate, which was just mind-blowing, was the weight of this particular drum. This drum weighs nothing, and to show you that, I'm holding it with my pinky. How many drums do you think you would brave to do that with? Okay, so this drum is incredibly light, which goes against most other things. Like, I used to think thicker would be better tonally. Obviously, the heavier it is, the more we gripe about having to carry this stuff. So I think Yamaha hit the nail on the head on a few points that way. But having said that, the weight of this drum isn't working the way I thought. I thought the lighter the drum, the more resonant ing and I want to say overtones, things like that would happen. No way. This drum is very controlled, and I mean very controlled. When I first took it out of the box, I was concerned. It had a lot of openness, which maybe for some people, their ear really likes that overtone ing. For me, I don't, and I was able to dial this thing in very well. And I'm super impressed with the tonal body and the total expression of this drum. I can play it in different tunings, totally reach my goals. It came with another company's heads, so I wanted to get my head combination on here, spend my time tuning it to where I desired, and I really am enjoying the drum. I've made it my main snare drum, and I have no regrets about that, even though I own an older recording custom, which is super heavy, and it was made in Japan and not China, which I know is kind of a stigma going on for Yamaha right now, but I can guarantee you from this experience, I see no consequence in that transition, in that changeover. I'm super impressed with Yamaha's production of this drum. I would have to say that they really did do what they're advertising, which is expanded or refined the old one. The old one, still, I could never really quite get rid of some of the overtone that I personally don't like, but with this drum, I'm able to totally evaporate that. So I'm going to play it a little bit, I guess, for you, just so you can see how I like it, and from there, I'll talk a bit more about the features. So here's where I'm tuning it. So if you notice, it's very gated. Gated means it opens and closes quite well. There's no bing or bang. I'm just not a fan of that. I know a lot of great recordings have happened with drums that react that way, but for me, being more of a soloist at times, if you notice, in behind me I have the Yamaha Phoenix, so I spend a lot of my times down here in the studio just, you know, playing drums, and it's just me, not always with accompaniment. So these overtones or crosstalk, as we'll say, kind of gets to my ear, and I don't really enjoy the experience as much until it's controlled. So if I go from, say, a tom to the snare hit, it's a quick note like doom pa, not doom pa. So I'm really happy with this drum in that regard. So I just want to now explain some of the features that I've been falling in love with. The first feature is the aluminum die-cast hoops. It was one of those experiences I had coming on board with Yamaha that I, you know, always knew they had great drums and, hey, the features are great and the prices are great, but what makes Yamaha a little bit better for you, the artist? And one of the things was the aluminum die-cast hoops. Most companies, I believe, are steel or zinc, very heavy, very rigid, and I think tonally boxy. It'd be like talking like this in a die-cast hoop. So this hoop rings really well. It's very low mass because of the aluminum. You can put a magnet on it and it doesn't stick, so it really proves that it's made from aluminum. And having all aluminum construction in this particular drum, I think, is totally helping it. So the die-cast hoops are the first feature that I was like, yeah, there you go, that's what I'm talking about. I really want that rigidity, but with the tonal expression. So I have that in this drum, which is great, versus maybe a triple flanged or a single flanged hoop, etc. The next feature I noticed about this particular drum was the snare bed. Now, if you know anything about snare beds, some companies out there won't even talk about snare beds. It's like the faux pas thing. Hey, check out our new drum. It's this big, it's this shiny, it's been blessed by the Pope, all those things, but they don't talk about snare beds. And to me, that's where the sensitivity of a drum really depends or experiences. So the width of the snare bed on this guy is like this. If you can see that, the width, like compared to a stick, right? We're talking like this wide, where on my old one, it would be like this. So the older 80s or 90s Japanese recording customs had a very narrow snare bed, very short or shallow. And this one is so wide that I feel like I can choke the snare wires quite tight and still not really get the over breath, you know, like when you hit a tom and you get that sizzle. Zzz, zzz. This one doesn't seem to react that way, and which I'm super happy about. I'm able to really dial it into the sensitivity for my own personal sticking. I can loosen it off very quickly or come back up. And from that, I noticed how great the upgraded strainer has become. This strainer is smooth as silk. It responds very well to the turns. Like some you'll find you'll turn like 2 notches left and it doesn't really do anything, and all of a sudden you make that third left turn and it's totally out of whack. So there's like gaps, you know, it's turning, too bad. Oh, and you gotta come back. This one, I find the sensitivity is right there. I turn it a little bit and I notice. I turn a little bit more and I notice in either direction. And one feature about this one that I'm really happy is it doesn't have a dual strainer. So it kind of takes away the complaining or curiosity that I always seem to experience with a dual strainered snare drum. Is I'll go to set it and then I'm kind of second guessing myself. Oh, did I put too much on this side? Did I put too much on that side? So with this one, you literally set it and forget it. So with the one-sided strainer, I'm really happy with that attribute. Outside of that, really, there's not much more to say other than it is totally impressive versus the old one I had. Now, the other one I had was brass, so maybe there's some tonal comparisons there, but really, the new Recording Custom series is awesome. And I'm honestly thinking about selling a lot of my other drums to get more of these Recording Custom line drums. They have really dialed it in, and it's no surprise. With technology comes more awareness, and they seem to be more aware of the things that I either was disgruntled about in the past, or just thought, well, you can never really fix that. It's part of the attribute of having a metal drum versus a wood drum, etc. But the aluminum sounds so good, and I've been playing with it now for about a month in several tunings, and I actually tried quite a few different heads. I now have the Evans HD Dry on here as my batter, and I have the Evans Hazy 500, which is a little bit thicker than the Hazy 300. So for me to get this drum to react the way that I personally enjoy, that's the head combination that I think I'll be sticking with for quite a while on this particular drum. I'm hoping to maybe get the 14x5 version, and then from there I'll probably buy into the brass and possibly the steel. But for now, I am so happy with this aluminum drum. I can't help but thank Ryan Hamilton, Ken Infanti, Sean Brown, all my guys at Yamaha for helping me experience this drum, because it really has made me feel happy about spending time on the kit. Us drummers spend a lot of time working on things that are just bugging us, and those things can be overshadowed by a gear issue. So maybe I'm playing a really great Steve Gadd lick and my snare's not working well, or I'm kind of dealing with that overtone, but this has really put me at ease that I forget that I'm playing this new drum. It's just become part of my extension. So I just wanted to take the time to tell everybody about the drum, my own personal experience with the drum, and how proud I am to be on the Yamaha team, because they seem to always achieve what I'm personally looking for as an artist. So I encourage you all to hit your local music store, support your local drum shops, get in there, tell the guy what it is you like, spend 5, 10, 20 minutes working the drum to where you want, and see if you can achieve your personal results, because I can't help but feel that this drum would meet anyone's demands. So please let me know in the comments, or send me videos of your experiences. Go to the store with a GoPro, try it out, see how it responds. But definitely get this thing out on your gig, or put it in your arsenal and tell me what you think of it, because it's now my personal #1 snare drum to go to, and I'm really excited to take it out on gigs and bring it into studios and do some sessions and stuff. So that's my personal review on the Yamaha 14x6.5 aluminum with the die-cast hoops. Alright guys, take care.